Hi, today we're exploring how to move the puppet that we developed originally to the templates that we are working with. This puppet was the first that I ever developed, and I never had any experience with anything else. It was about a year ago since I started to work on that. You can see I broke it a little bit already, but we essentially had the turnaround and a running cycle. I learned a lot, and we also prepared this puppet for the motion capture. So we will use all that to actually transfer already kind of ready puppet with kind of ready art into our template. And this way we learn how it's usable, how do we move the characters that we already created, or how do we create the new character. So we have the turnaround of this guy, and we have the boo that is already running. And the running itself is not really involved too much of a different art. Is that it? Check. Was it me? So we have the puppet. Let's move it to the template. Let's start with something simple. What do we do? Arms or bottom to top? Let's do bottom to top. So let's go ahead and enter the foot symbol. So let's just double click, double click, double click. We hit the guide accidentally. That's actually view and guides, not show the guides. We're not gonna need them at the moment. We have the turnaround for the feet in all our possible view. And we are dealing with a far foot because the far is the ones that going far first when we are moving the turnaround, right? So this one will be near, this one will be far, then it's gonna be moved at some point, and this is one gonna become near based on the rotation. So much easier than left and right, trust me. And since we already have the template and we just save it separately, we can just import the raw art to replace all these body pieces and rearrange it appropriately. So let's see how's it gonna look. Let's switch to the bear. What are we gonna do? Let's copy all the layers that have frames and paste it here. And we see that something is wrong. Here, here, here. Shift F5 to delete, F5 to add. And now here's the cool part. In here, when we are dealing with symbols, we don't want any scaling applied, at least not by default. We can do it later at the end of animation when we don't need to do anything else with that. This is the only time where it's actually appropriate. But in this case, if we're gonna resize it now like that is kind of where it's supposed to be, we will have the transformation already applied, and we're gonna use the transformation in the future to animate with automation, so it's really not appropriate this way. So we're gonna go ahead and zoom back inside, and we will scale here. So we want reference layers to be untouched, so let's lock them. And we want to select everything, but we don't want to select everything on this specific frame. So let's expand and select everything. Let's enable outline mode, and we can rescale. Did I not choose everything? Oh, I did not choose everything. Okay, let's rescale. Let's reposition. No, it's not the correct position. So this is where the circle supposed to fit, right? I'm not sure I'm getting it. Yeah, definitely higher, right? I guess this works. Not the most efficient process in the world, but can live with that. So it's gonna be Jin, right? So, and it's gonna move around this joint. This fits. This fits. Yes, I think I'm happy with this. Okay, so this dressed, not dressed, I don't like. Let's use undressed part as a separate layer, and we can just flip it on and off. But on the other hand, if we just set up Puppet first, so if we choose, okay, This supposed to be on, this supposed to be on, then we exit the symbol. So we set up symbol differently. And then, okay, animate the bear that is already set as a basic. Yes. Okay, yes, it makes total sense to get rid of the separate frames and use the lawyers for that. Yeah, this was one of the ideas that did not make sense, and we can fix that. I also made the changes for some reason to the legs, so now we need to kind of make a call which one I like better. I think I like better the one that's more spread. Let's get this piece. I also have a bunch of absolutely unnecessary nested stuff. Fun. Okay, let's put it back. And let's align it properly. So now when we are setting up the puppet, we can choose for our bear to be naked, for example. And in this case, we will go to all the symbols and we're gonna disable this. We can click the visibility button and we can disable the parts of the body. Let's also start implementing the naming conventions. So this would be pants. Now, food, but there is exactly. Oh, I hate when it happens. Okay, let's do. We're gonna do it piece by piece anyway. Let's set up a bunch of empty keyframes in important spots, because otherwise it's not gonna work appropriately when we want it to. This does not look pretty anymore. No problem. Mom, am I there? Okay, food. Food. What's the name of the thing? Pass? Je parlais pas anglais. Je ne mange pas ces jours. No, they're not inside the millions of groups. No, they are inside the millions of groups. This is ridiculous. Easy peasy. You can see, takes no time. One paw is ready and everything else to go. We also need to plan consistently because we want the same thing across all those different columns. Because if it's not consistent, how can we automate? We need kind of like same jumps, same distances, and same sets. And this is why it's so important, especially at the beginning, because we'll have to repeat it for all the characters. And if we want to change something, we need to change something for all characters. And we want to make a correct decision so we don't have to redo 40 characters over and over and over. Let's do it as a guide now. When we set this to guide, if we exit the symbol, it disappears now. Oh, go back. This. Next one is up. So stand up, down, and kind of smooshed. Okay, up, down, smooshed. Up, down, smooshed. I can accept that. Yeah, I like it. Let's do label. Let's create this, the frames, and let's do front regular. Let's do front up. Let's do front down, and let's do front smooshed. Now when we exit, we can see on the right side that front up, front down, front smoosh. This is all available to us. And the regular is not actually confusing over here because it's replaced by regular front. So we actually don't have to put anything here. Let's reflect that. Yeah. Let's not do more than we have to, because we'll have to redo it for everything. Here, pens is not applicable. Here and here, pens needs to... Oh, and we also need to break it apart. Oh, I was hoping that because it's in a separate... So wicked. I mean, come on. If you're in a separate groups, why you're not completed underneath? Oh, I just realized that I still need to have work done on the previous frame because of this grouping issue. Let's lock this and lock that because we want to select this wicked thing and get rid of that. Okay, now this goes here. Now footpaths go away, and we will need to start getting rid of those dots because we don't need those holes. We don't need no pesky holes. Here, leave their pens alone. Because this also will allow us to do the parallax when we're gonna move them apart in the future. We need to get the pens unlocked, to copy them, put Ctrl-Shift-V, and recolor, which will combine them in the same shape. And now we have the properly formatted leg. I think it's not exactly perfectly formatted, but let's not be too picky about that. Same process for the last one. Paste it over here, align it. Here is the front, right? As we're rotating, we go from paw looking this side to paw looking that side. And here, the finger is disappearing. So we can actually have a little bit more intense rotation. Subtle things, but they do help. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, this works. Not quite sure how much more do I need to actually do it on stream, because it will be the same thing for every single part of the body. So we will be looking at this point and how the joint is gonna rotate at the end, right? And we want to see if it works fine, right? Now we cannot really see it because other parts of the body is not there, but at the end we want to just swap them and have the animation based on that. It's fine to have the difference in our art like that when it's a little bit not in the ground, because this is what we care about, right? So our joint can move in this way, but in here it's fixed. This is what we care about, and if the ligaments are flying around, it's not as important. That's a process. Let's see how easy it will be to set up properly. I mean, it kind of works, you can see, but we want to organize it properly so it does work long term as well, because this is a persistent character that we gonna work with for the years to come. Thank you for joining. Cheers.